boy. Why, hello. Good morning. Hello. Howdy. Time to make lemonade, baby. Oh, coffee. Coffee just the way I like it. Yeah. Hot, black, and strong. How come you come on right before I take my dog to the dog park? Put your earbuds in and take him. Don't act like you can't do this on the go, man. It's fucking 2024, man. It's 2024. Oh, yeah, it's Paul. It's true. It's true. You heard right. Haircut looking dope. Man, it's a little poofy for me right now. I watched it last night, so it's like, it's a little poofy. See? It's a little fluffy right now, but that's okay. That's just how my hair is. Little floofy, little poofy. Didn't y'all use Pathfinder for Dank D&D? Yes. Pathfinder was like, technically the system we used was a homebrew system of mine, but it was based heavily on Pathfinder. Like it was frameworked on Pathfinder for sure. Yeah. I don't remember if it was one or two. I have the book somewhere. I could look into it for you, but yeah, I have the DM book, and I don't remember if it was V1 or two. I guess that's a mystery. I'm just curious as to who that sheriff from Arizona you were talking about. Sheriff from Arizona, Joe Arpaio, sheriff of Maricopa County. Yeah, Joe Arpaio is the name you want to look. Arpaio, I think. That's the guy. Any plans for a third session of Dank D&D? Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no. It just didn't do well, man. We sunk a lot of time and money into making that show, and just didn't take off. People just were not interested. So, one of those things. Loved doing the content. Thought it really like fit my personal talents and stuff. But it's a tough one to break into. Yeah, I didn't know many people when I lived in Arizona that said nice things about Joe Arpaio. He was pretty, like, well loved amongst conservatives, but that's about it. Like, the conservatives worshipped him because he was a jackboot authoritarian guy, a tough on crime guy, or whatever the fuck. You know how that goes. You know what they're up to. You know what that means. Got some controls here. Oh. Okay. What have I done? I hit a button, and now I don't know how to unhit the button. Okay, so let's say I want this. How do I make this go away now? I'm such a boomer. There. Oh, okay, the check mark. I see. It's a little hard to see. Okay, let's find that other one, because that was actually kind of nice. 8 mil. Do I want 8 mil? What looks better? This with the fuzzies or this? I like this. We're going to go with this. Check mark. Done. Done. I like documentary. I like this filter. Makes me feel like I'm important. Amelia's making me a smoothie. We got some protein powder from GNC because she is worried about my protein level since I'm not eating meat anymore. And so she's making me up a smoothie, and I'm going to try it out and see what's what. I'm hoping I like it, but I have, quite honestly, never made myself one of these like breakfast smoothies. So I guess we'll see. We'll see together. We'll get to try it together. Buff Paul incoming. I know your diet involves less meat, but have you tried bone? I have not. I don't do anything like, I eat proteins, right? So I eat tofu and eggs and milk and cheese. All of those have protein in them, but I just do not eat meat.
Oh snap! It's pretty thick. I had to add more milk.
Whoa!
Can you even sip it, or is it too?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
You just have to add more milk. I think it's because the protein powder probably made it thicker than.
Maybe. I don't know if I needed this big one of one. We could split one like this size maybe.
Well, you have what you want of that, and if you can't finish it,
well, if you want to break it up into a
no, you have what you want. Because I remember I tested out the
oh.
protein shake first, so.
Okay. That's pretty good. This is milk, protein powder, and a mixture of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, like berries and a little bit of kale, and then some acai concentrate or whatever.
Yes. Yes. It's true the protein powder gives you awful gas. I guess we'll see.
Find out.
I'll give you guys a report on the next one on how farty I get.
Well, I had some, and I'm not farting like crazy, so
Yeah.
I guess I'm okay.
Yet. Here, you can sip. You should try some at least.
Okay, I'll try
Sip on it.
I'll try a sip and see what I think.
I think it's pretty good, honestly. It's not like overly sweet, which is good.
I added like the recommended amount of sugar or whatever.
It's got like a little sweetness to it.
I think it's the protein powder that cuts the sweetness a little bit, because we got that no carb protein powder or whatever. You
Yeah.
can taste it in there.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I don't know how much of it I'll be able to do. It's not like eating, though. It's like drinking. Ish.
Like I said, you have whatever you want. And maybe I'll finish it, or maybe we can just save it for later. I mean, just put it in the fridge probably, or the freezer, and make yourself a little.
True. Pretty good, though. Do you think monogamy is a grift? Monogamy is a grift? No. Who would benefit from said grift? Like, a grift has to be something that you're doing to make money, right? Like, you're grifting people for money that you haven't earned. That's the idea, right? So, like, who would be the grifter in this situation?
Because it's like, as opposed to polygamy, I feel like they'd make more money with polygamy than.
I feel like polygamy is closer to a grift than monogamy is, but.
Does it need more blending, or is it okay?
No, it's perfect. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
I'm asking out my boss on the last day of work today. Election campaign. Wish me luck. Good luck, buddy.
Are you giving up after Super Tuesday?
Maybe so.
Last Chance Saloon.
Paul, your new hairdo looks suave and pulchritudinous. Wow.
Pulchritudinous. It's just pretty.
That's a nice word.
Pulcher is like the Latin for beautiful.
Pulchritudinous. That's a fucking like 75-cent college word right there, buddy. That's a 75-center. That's a big one. Thank you.
My Latin's useful for something sometimes.
It is. You know some roots. You can point out some roots. That's my Dune throat singing.
Yeah. I feel like the change that was made would be a pretty major spoiler if no one's seen it before.
It
I
would
feel
be.
like if you discussed that change that he made.
There's a couple of changes that he made, and it would be the major one would be a major fucking spoiler, but fuck it. I did see it. Weird. That's not Harkonnen singing. That is Sardaukar singing. Sardaukar are the Emperor's terror troops. They're the ones that. Yeah.
So hopefully the guys
Who's got
have
the
seen
bagpipes? The Atreides. A YouTuber speculated that is the voice of the God Emperor in the future, but said it's just that speculation based on the quotes, sounding like something Leto II would say. Maybe, yeah. It's probably the only movie I've liked this decade. Insanely good. Yeah, I mean,
Only one this decade? Dude, you gotta broaden your horizons, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that came out this decade that's good.
Yeah, that is true, but it is really good. It was really well done. Way better than the first movie, in my opinion. Just way more engaging, better paced.
Well, he just felt more confident in doing what he wanted.
Well, he had done what he needed to do to get out of the way with the first one.
Yeah.
All the character introduction. I mean, think about what a huge task that is, especially with a universe like Dune, with so much like background, and to introduce that to an audience of people who you're assuming have never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that had to be constraining in that first film.
Yeah.
Once he had everybody introduced, I felt like he limbered up the second movie a lot. It didn't feel as stiff as the first movie did. Um, it didn't drag like the first movie did in certain parts. It was a major payoff. I agree. I agree. It was a build up to the payoff of the second film, and it really worked.
Apparently, Hans Zimmer has said that he's already been asked to make the soundtrack for Dune Messiah.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why. Denis says he's done after Messiah. But that doesn't mean that the franchise is done necessarily.
Well, they said that he was going to work on a show too.
Well, they've been working on that show. You're talking about Dune Sisterhood?
No,
Oh,
different.
different, a whole different show.
Yeah, with Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, really? No, I mean the movie's great. I mean it like really pays off in that blockbustery kind of way that you would expect. Whoa, I can see the kale.
Oh, sorry. It's hard to get all the sides mixed in a blender.
Is Paul immortal for still keeping on the golden path despite knowing about the genocide that is done in his name? Is he immortal for that?
I think they mean immoral.
Immoral. Yeah, that would make more sense as a question. Is he immoral? No. The golden path, if you understand it, especially fleshed out in God Emperor, the golden path is the best path through the degradation and the war and the suffering and all of that.
It just kind of has to be.
It has to be. Paul does eventually reject the golden path. But going along with it, even though he knows, I don't think is immoral because...
Well, if you think about it, it was hundreds of years of planning by the Bene Gesserit to
90 generations.
To put him in that position.
Right. And they didn't even want to put him in that position.
Yeah. But he ended up being the one.
Right. But yeah, no, I don't think he's immoral. You have to understand, once he takes the water of life, he has prescience. That's one of the things that I don't think that the movie showed all that well. It's one of the things I think Lynch's Dune did better. When Paul takes the water of life in Lynch's Dune, there is a character shift that happens. Oh God, what is his name? Kyle MacLachlan is kind of wide-eyed and childlike for the first half of the film. And then once he takes the water of life, he becomes stoic and unemotional. And there's a real transition that and Lynch never says directly that he can see all futures and he can see, all these potentialities and stuff, and he can see the past in focus, and he can, he doesn't come right out and say necessarily all those things, but you can feel it in the performance. I feel like
Denis Villeneuve, I think he said it but didn't show it.
Yeah. It's the opposite in Villeneuve. Villeneuve spends all this time setting up what's going to happen if Paul drinks the water of life, showing what happens to his mother and sister when they drink it, or when his mother drinks it and the fetus is preborn. But once he's done it, once he wakes up, it just feels like he's the same character, maybe with a little bit more self-assuredness, but there's not a big, giant tonal shift in the way that Paul is presented in the film. And I that was a mistake, in my opinion.
Like, with the golden path thing, you can kind of compare it to, like, war crimes committed in pursuit of liberation.
Right.
Like, you know, there were some war crimes going on.
Oh my God.
Well,
The book talks about them.
yeah.
I mean, the Fremen army, in the name of Muad'Dib,
Yeah.
scours the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
They hit every major planet,
Mm-hmm.
destroy it, and supplant the governorship, or make them capitulate to leadership from Arrakis. So he usurps the entire government. The books are constantly reinforcing that the idea of knowledge of the future is a self-inflicted trap. It's better to go with the flow of the universe. Well, I mean, that is one of the things that's explored.
But it's kind of both. Like,
Right.
knowing makes you have to go with the flow, because knowing doesn't mean you can change it.
Well, I mean, knowing means you can see what would happen if you make different decisions. So you
Yeah.
can, I guess, not change it. You can guide it.
Yeah.
But that's all you can do. You can choose one
But you
timeline and
also
affect it.
can understand which one is the best
Right.
unequivocally.
Right. You can exchange your perception of the two. Paul's avoidance created a future he didn't want. D. No poo sniffing or whatever you're doing over there. I don't trust you, buddy. In the book, the prescience is way more present in Paul. Like, he sees in each interaction. Yeah. It really points out that, like, every second his brain is doing a calculation of, if I take another step in this direction, then that leads to this outcome. I mean, he can see the path forward from this one moment of volition. And so it really explains that in the book. It does not so well in the movie. It just seemed
It's
like,
just hard to depict.
I don't think it would have been that hard.
Yeah.
I think it really should have been like a tonal shift in the character. I think it's really well done in the Lynch Dune. I think it really is. It's one of the things that I think that Dune did really well. Was really showing the power level increase in Paul, and the kind of calmness that comes over him once he's self-assured. Because that's the thing in the book, is like, once Paul decides to take the water of life, all of that, like, trepidation is gone. Like, once he wakes up from that trance in the water of life, he does not second guess his choices anymore. And I feel like Paul continued to second guess his choices.
Well, I think that's what I mean by, like, seeing the future doesn't give you a choice, because it makes you so assured about what the right choice is.
Right.
That
And that's what you see in Kyle MacLachlan's performance. He goes from being childlike and wide-eyed and a little bit naive and a little bit emotional to being this stoic leader character that can see straight. How does Paul not go insane instantly? In the book, do they explain that? So Paul is the end result of a 90 generation breeding program by the Bene Gesserit to create the Kwisatz Haderach. Supposed to be a man that can, in the book they say that he can go places that women fear. So it means that when a Bene Gesserit woman ingests the water of life, she's taking on the ancestral memories of her ancestors, like all of the Bene Gesserit line that came before her, and all of the cousins and second cousins and all of that, and that weird web of a family tree become a part of her. And their knowledge transfers to her, their pain transfers to her. And men aren't, it's stated in the book by the Bene Gesserits that women have a certain intuition that allows them to cope with that men do not have. But women can only see the female ancestral line. That's the limitation of females when they take the water of life, is that they can only see their female descendants. When Paul takes the water of life, he's able to see everything. The female line, the male line, the stuff that's not even human related. He has an overview. And so because of his genetically engineered past, because he was the end result, like I said, of a very, very secretive and extensive selective breeding program. I gotta fucking try and shade this thing. It's gonna fucking overheat again. I can just tell.
You want to try like putting it on here where it's kind of partially shaded?
Maybe. I don't know. I can't. It's just a pain in the ass out here sometimes. If I bring it closer, it's just not a great spot for it. Well, I guess that might work. I don't know. Let's try it for a minute. At the very least, let it cool down. It tends to overheat when the sun's hitting right on the screen and shit. Paul, you are incorrect. At no point in the book. Yes, it does. Yeah, no, it literally does. So in the book, it talks about a place that women fear to go. The women of the Bene Gesserit are afraid to even try and access that full genetic memory. That's why they're creating the Kwisatz Haderach, because he can do what women can't. Women are able to influence through the Bene Gesserit sisterhood the future because they have that genetic line memory of their female descendants. So yeah, you're absolutely just wrong. Dune Messiah is explicit that Paul is afraid of his son's experience of both memories. It's explicit that Paul cannot access both. I don't believe that's true. I think he's afraid that his son can do it, but I don't believe that that's true. I can't do this. I can't have it down there. It's unfortunate, but I'm just gonna have to. I wish I could just like. Give me a sec. I gotta clean the fingerprints off of this fucking phone. Clean you guys off. You guys are dirty and fingerprinty. Okay, there we go. That's a little better.
I mean, I think the difference with his son is that
his son is preborn.
Yeah, like that's why it's different. It's not because
right. His son is born innately with the knowledge. Paul isn't the true Kwisatz, so I don't know why you're citing that. But anyway, none of the books give any indication that Paul can do anything other than see forward in time. Okay, all right, fair enough, Jason. We'll have to agree to disagree on that. Like the reason why he fears his son's abilities is because his son is like him but distilled from birth. His son and his daughter are preborns, like Alia. So they not only have access, but they're kind of governed almost by the genetic line because they're born with it, rather than Paul acquiring it. What's wrong with the color? I put on a filter. It's no biggie.
Well, yeah, like if you're not preborn, of course your personal experiences are gonna taint the full ability.
Right. And you can understand you're never going to be as strong as somebody that was innately born with the power.
Yeah.
That is what I understand is the difference between Leto II and Paul.
But Paul was the chosen one because he was able to survive the water of life. That was the big
ultimately thing. What I understand from the book, and maybe like I said, the book is very dense and very hard to understand in parts, but from what I understand in the book, Paul was not necessarily the Kwisatz Haderach. He was the next step needed to create it. Mm-hmm. Leto II is the Kwisatz, right? So maybe that's true. To a certain extent, and maybe Paul's powers are not as cleanly applied as Leto's powers are. Yeah. Wasn't Leto the Second and Ganima able to avoid Alia's fate by making some sort of bargain with their inner voices? Yeah. So is a good example of a preborn and why they are considered to be abominations by the Bene Gesserit, because they are susceptible to these ghosts. They're not ghosts, but these genetic memories are can sometimes take them over. There's a chance that a stronger personality comes up out of the genetic memory and vies for control of the body, and that's what happens to Alia.
Well, because they don't have a time to develop their sense of self before getting the
Right,
memories.
right.
Have no.
They never know any different,
Yeah.
and so it's very easy for them to slip into. Yeah, I mean, it says it. You may not be finding that exact sentence, Jason, but it does say explicitly in the book that he gains the power of a Reverend Mother. Like he has the power of a Mentat and a Reverend Mother. The power of a Reverend Mother is genetic memory. It says it's it. I'm 99% sure you're incorrect on this. I'm pretty sure it's explicit in the book. Maybe not in the way that I'm saying it. That Paul has a genetic memory. Who's your dream actor to play Leto the Second? Andy Serkis? I don't know. Maybe. You're talking about the guy that played Gollum, right? Should God Emperor ever even be attempted for film? Uh, I think it could be. It would be one of the most ambitious films ever made, I think. Especially if they tried to do justice the inner world of Leto II, how he lives in this kind of dreamlike state where he's experiencing all timelines and all genetic memories, and they're just accessible to him to the point where he can allow those personas to take control of his body temporarily so that they can interact with the world and such. And so really painting that kind of power in a movie and making it understandable to the audience would be the trick of doing God Emperor as a film. We have to make an assumption that Paul's experience taking the water of life, despite the fact that he goes into a coma and his experience is totally different from Jessica's. He has no idea how to handle poison. That's not true. That's not true. He's been trained by his mother from birth to be a Bene Gesserit. One of the powers that Bene Gesserits have is the ability to slow their metabolism down to an almost stop, to enter a state of almost torpor, and allow their body to slowly but surely heal a poison. That's what Paul does. So I think that you're a little mistaken about Paul's nature, but maybe I am. I don't know. But yeah, it's mentioned in the books that Bene Gesserits have the ability to basically die, like slow their metabolism down to such an extent that they appear physically dead. Paul's metabolism change is different from Jessica's. She internalizes her persona and warps the poison consciously. Paul has to go into a coma for a long time so he doesn't outright die. I mean, their experiences are different because the experience of a woman drinking the water of life is different from the male, because it allows the male to get clarity of vision. So, thanks for so many good book recommendations over the years. I've read Dune and Three Body Problem on your recommendation. Cool. Yeah, great books. Is that a quote, Jolly Leprechaun? Where did you pull that from? Because I need that. Unlike the Bene Gesserit, who access only their female lineage, Paul's unique genetic heritage and training allow him to access memories from both male and female ancestors. Yeah, if you could throw up a citation for that, because I'm not trying to dunk. It's just that's my understanding of the books, is that he has access to the both sides of the genetic memory lineage. The connection is not as complete as in his son, because he's not preborn. His son is born with a greater facility for accessing those memories. Yeah, I've read Neuromancer. No, it's not directly quoted from the book, just my understanding. Right. Yeah, it's my understanding as well. So if you could find a citation for that somewhere, it'd be helpful, but it is what it is. Paul's mom was fathered by the Baron. Yes, the Baron is Paul's grandfather. Jessica was part of the breeding program. She was to blend the up until that point separate bloodlines of Harkonnen and Atreides. So there is one major choice in the movie that I did not like, because I feel like it was cheap. It will be a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear the spoiler, just, tune out. Because I definitely want to talk about it a little bit. Military jets. Whoa. There's a whole squadron. That's crazy. It's like 6 of them. Flying in formation. They must be training or something. That's crazy. That jet's not going to let you spoil it, yeah. Paul calls Fade cousin, but wouldn't he be more like an uncle? So Fade is the Baron's nephew. He's not the Baron's son. So he would be the Baron's nephew, which means cousin to Paul, I think. Perfect time for spoiler. Okay, so here's the spoiler. The last part of this movie takes place over the course of about 7 months. In the book, the same stretch of time takes place over 2 years. So in the book, Alia is born and grows up. Doesn't grow all the way up, but she's like the size of a toddler, maybe a little older, but she's only 2. And she's completely sentient and all that. She's completely and utterly able to. So, in the book, Alia is born. She is taken. She comes to the palace where the emperor and the Baron are, and she kills the Baron with a Gom Jabbar. which is the little needle with the poison. She pulls out the Gom Jabbar, hits him with it. He doesn't understand, what has happened. It's her that kills the Baron, and that's important for the future because Alia becomes possessed basically by the genetic ghost of the Baron, and there's a whole interplay between them because she killed him. And so it's interesting that in the movie, in the Villeneuve movie that I just saw, because the timeline is accelerated to 7 months from 2 years, Alia is not born. So it's Paul that kills the Baron, and he kills the Baron by just stabbing him. There's no Gom Jabbar, there's none of that. Paul kills the Baron. It's a really interesting choice. I don't know why they did it, to be honest with you, other than I just don't want to mess with trying to make a little girl that is acting like a grown-up. If you watch the Lynch Dune, Alia is portrayed there, and I think it's pretty good, honestly, but it's a little weird. It's a little funky.
But that's David Lynch. He's a definition of funky.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to do it. And it's just weird to me. It's just a strange thing for them to change because it has major consequences for the story.
Like you worry that the Baron's not going to be as big a part of Alia's story.
Well, I mean, I think he's going to have to be, but I just worry it's not going to make as much sense. It's a huge change. It really is. It's not a small convenience change to move the story along. It's a concerted change where Denis was like, let's make this happen faster. Let's keep Alia in utero and give her character from inside the womb. Let's introduce who will play her in Messiah, Anna Taylor-Joy. But let's not show her. Let's not have her interact at all in this movie other than through the mother, which is, I mean, it's a huge change. It's a giant change. And to be quite honest with you, Paul killing the Baron like he does doesn't make a lot of sense. It just doesn't. I guess it does from a revenge standpoint, but Paul has prescience. Paul can see that killing the Baron is going to lead to his sister struggling against the ghost of the Baron. It doesn't make any sense for him to do it. It makes sense for Alia to do it because she didn't have access to the Baron's genetic memory. He's not dead. So it makes more sense for Alia to do it.
He's chasing a squirrel.
You squirrel chaser. You ain't never gonna catch that squirrely bee. You too fast. Are people saying spoiler in 2024 when it's about Dune 2? Because we're talking about a movie
different than the 1960s book.
Yeah, it's different than the book and it's different than the existing film.
Yeah. So that's the biggest spoiler for this movie that just came out a few days ago is...
Yeah, they choose not to have Alia be a character. At least not, a real character.
She's a fetus.
She's a fetus, rather than a toddler. Do you think Denis should continue his career with the Dune movies? He's going to. So he's already announced that he's going to make Dune Messiah.
He's already basically got the script done. He's already...
Or not Dune Messiah, Dune... Is it Dune Messiah?
I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
He's already got the script basically done. He's already contracted Hans Zimmer to make the soundtrack.
He's casted the people. People are coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dune Messiah. I get Dune Messiah mixed up with Heretics of Dune. But it's Dune Messiah. Another weird choice, and I guess this was just because it's not really a choice. It differs from the previous movie, was not fleshing out the Guild Navigators at all. They're not really fleshed out all that well in the first book, so it's not like a departure from the book. But it is something that Lynch decided to do in order to paint the galaxy and really introduce this. The Spacing Guild is a huge part of the storyline. They're a
He wanted
huge.
to stress why the spice was so important.
Right. And it helped you see that, like, when you're exposed to too much of this spice, it literally changes your body. It intercedes in your DNA and creates a different creature out of you. And that really wasn't talked about or shown really at all in the movie, in either of the movies, which is an interesting choice.
But like you said, it's not a departure from the book. It's
No.
just
Another
cool
departure.
addition.
Another departure from the book that I did not like a lot is this kind of like romantic fight that Paul and Chani have. In the book, Chani is Paul's most fervent supporter and believer. In the movie, they create this kind of religious tension in Chani where she's like a skeptic. And there's another group of Fremen that are fundamentalists that believe in the Mahdi, and she doesn't. And it creates a tension between Paul and Chani in the movie that isn't really present in the book.
Jealousy over Princess Irulan.
Right. Like in the book, Chani knows that Paul has to seal his genetic line. So she's right. She knows that he's going to marry Irulan. It's not like a shock to her.
It's political.
Right, it's a political marriage, and that's all it is. Like, she knows why he's doing it. But in the movie, when he says, "I'll take your daughter's hand," she's like, she's all hurt. And then she still like struggles with her.
She like doesn't bow to him.
Right, she doesn't bow. She doesn't treat him the way that other people do, and in the book she does. In the book, she's one of the first people to believe in him. Yeah, she's skeptical of him the entire movie. It's kind of sad. Yeah, I agree. It was a strange choice. They really wanted to make a romance novel, a romance subplot, and that had tension in it. Because in the book, it's basically just a romance. It's really they love each other. They fall for each other. She supports him. He supports her. They're together in it. And in the book, they're very much apart. She's skeptical of him entirety of the book.
Our main theory was like he wanted to lay the groundwork for their eventual tension.
Maybe, but they wanted a powerful female that rejects orthodoxy despite the fact that Jessica exists. Yeah, I don't know. It was a strange choice because in the book there is no Stilgar is this fanatic guy, and there's a bunch of Fremen that don't. Like that does exist. Like Stilgar does believe in Paul and does help to legitimize Paul with the Fremen, but not in the way that it's portrayed in the film. Like, people think Stilgar is an important guy, but he's a little crazy because he's into this old religion stuff. That's not really in the book. Stilgar is like the most respected Fremen. Not necessarily a leader of the Fremen because such a structure doesn't really exist with them, but he's considered to be the head man on the planet. And in this, he's more just like a kind of slightly crazy holy man that people respect because he's a good warrior. And that's a different character,
Like, yeah, I don't think there's any tension, like, with the prayers.
No.
And wasn't in the book, wasn't he like in a coma for like a long time after drinking the water of life?
Yeah. He's in a coma not for just like an hour or two, for like days and days and days. Yeah. In my humble opinion, the religious tensions increase the verisimilitude of the story. I mean, that's probably why that they were why it was chosen, because it adds another thread that they can pull on to make this a more relatable story and to tie it to modern times, modern day religious and political fanatics versus, more moderates. I mean, we see that a lot in life, and so he's, art reflects life, all of that. So he wanted to stir some of that into the plot, even though it's not really part of the original book. But it was a negative for me. So those were the two negatives for me: the choice to not have Alia be born and to not make the hard work of making Alia a character that people could see and letting her fulfill her destiny. That was just an inscrutable choice to me. I don't know why they did it. And the just the love subplot between Paul and Chani being so fraught with angst didn't rub me the right way. It's not that it makes her a different character. It would be, it would be totally fine for me if that's how, Frank Herbert had envisioned that Chani would interact with the storyline, but it's
I guess
not.
they just wanted her to be more independent. They wanted her to have more agency than just, I am your complete fervent supporter.
She does have agency, though.
Yeah.
She chooses that.
Yeah.
She chooses to believe in him. At first, she doesn't. She puts him through his paces just like the rest of the Fremen do. And she is skeptical of him at first. But after he proves himself, she is one of the first adopters along with Stilgar. She's his most fervent, closest ally. And to have them be at odds with one another for the whole film pretty much was, I don't know, it just changes the tone of the movie and it changes the implication. I guess the lack of Alia also influenced this decision to not have Jamis as wife and kids. Yeah. It's another little side thing that isn't covered in the movie.
I forgot. Did they gender bend Jamis or someone else in the first one? Did they gender bend Jamis or someone else in the first one?
They gender bent the doctor.
The doctor.
Doctor what's his name? It's not Leto, it's Liet. Liet Kynes.
That was fine. That didn't really change anything, I don't think.
Yeah, that's not that didn't change anything. It did, like Liet's death and stuff was different in the movie than it is in the book, kind of, but yeah. So Liet is Chani's mother, and Stilgar is her father. And Liet is not a Fremen by birth. Liet was sent to Arrakis to be the geological specialist and joined the Fremen. They changed how Kynes died. Yeah, they did. I noticed the use of disjointed, melancholic-sounding bagpipes in the arena. I realized those were likely taken from the Atreides, and I think they were being played to mock the slaves. Yeah, you're right. Like the movie Kynes' death. Yeah. I mean, it's a different story. It's like a whole different, Kynes dies alone in the book, choosing to walk out into the desert. And in this one, a Sardaukar attacks her and kills her, but she pounds on this drum sand, which I think was cool that they put the drum sand in it. That's a neat thing from the book. Drum sand. I don't know if it's actually a thing, but in the book they talk about how on the dunes there's a certain spot where if you hit it, it's hollow and it reverberates through the dune. How many sandworms out of 10 was this movie? 9. It was 9 sandworms out of 10. It was great.
I feel like we got a better sandworm in the first one, though. We didn't see him as well in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just a less is more thing in the first one.
Yeah. They
They were
wanted,
enigmatic, and they were,
because it's supposed to be Shai Hulud that he sees in the first part of the movie, right?
well, Shai Hulud is just the name for the worms.
Yeah.
All the worms are Shai. They call it Shai Hulud. So, um, yeah, the Shai Hulud is just a blanket term that they use for a worm. I recently read the first half of Dune, the book. Having seen the movie first, rewatching, I feel Dune needs a Game of Thrones like series. Yeah, I mean, I really do honestly think that it could be done really well as a movie series, as well, like as a serial program or whatever on HBO. I think Dune could really be well done with that, but it's going to be many years before anybody thinks about
Yeah,
rebooting this.
they're doing the plans for shows now are for different
Spin-offs.
offshoots.
Yeah. There's a Dune Sisterhood, and I don't know what the Villeneuve Dune is going to focus on. The TV show he's supposedly working on. But yeah, from my understanding, the shows that are being planned are spin-offs outside of the, probably working closely with like Brian Herbert, who took over the Dune franchise when his father died. Send Them to Paradise was not my favorite part of the movie for sure. Not showing the guild ships in orbit was a weird choice. There were just a lot of strange choices. I agree, in both of the movies. The way that they truncated the film, the way that they truncated the book, and reimagined some of the plot lines was really inscrutable to me because it didn't seem necessary. I don't think. See, I think that they wanted to make Chani a more like I think you said so, Jason. They wanted to make Chani like a girl boss, basically. They wanted her to be independent and fiery, and she is those things in the book. It's just she's not stupid, you know. She knows that Paul is something special in the book, and in this one, I think she knows it as well. But she's just mad about it for some reason. It's like they created this like slave to destiny kind of storyline with her, where she, you know, knows that she is the desert spring or whatever, and she doesn't want to be because she doesn't believe in that stuff. And that's just a weird choice because it's just not. It's not how the book portrays the Fremen. The Fremen are not necessarily factionalized in the books, especially not at the time of the first book. They're pretty unified group of loosely related Seaches and shit. They, you know, they're not. I don't know. I didn't mind the changes with Chani. It emphasizes the point of Paul's manipulation of the Fremen, right? And that's something that the movie didn't do a great job of fleshing out. The fact that this whole religion that the Fremen have was planted like hundreds of years ago by the Bene Gesserit.
I feel like they
did.
Yeah.
They talked about it, but it wasn't fleshed out. It was just mentioned.
Yeah.
And I got the reference, but I don't know if somebody who hasn't read the books would get the idea that the Bene Gesserit for fucking generations have been sneaking agents into the Fremen to spread this religious lie that will prepare them for the Kwisatz Haderach. The movie gave all the agency of changing the minds of the Fremen to Jessica and Alia. Yes, it did, and that's another choice that's very strange. Because you're right, it really painted Jessica as like a fanatic even among the fanatics, who was influencing the minds of the Fremen by spreading Paul's legend. In the book, she doesn't have to do that. She's secondary because he proves himself to the Fremen. His legend grows of his own volition, but not necessarily all of his own volition. It grows because of the lies that his mother's sect have told on Arrakis for generations.
I mean, is it really a lie though? I feel like they still get the same end result from the prophecy they
It is
told them.
though. It's a
Yeah.
lie because it's they're not saying we've genetically manipulated a man that can do things that normal man can't do, and he's
Yeah.
going to come here and we're going to join him. It's he's the savior, he's the voice from the outer world that's going to come here and liberate us and create a green garden planet and all of that. They plant the religious lie. It's not necessarily a lie, but the religiosity draped over the top is the lie. They take ideology and turn it into religion, basically. Paul doesn't manipulate the Fremen the Bene Gesserits did. Right, but he is a Bene Gesserit.
He wasn't supposed to be born
Right.
in the Bene Gesserit plan, but he was.
Right. He's not necessarily part of their plans, but he is a cog in the wheel. And he understands
knows
the
all
prophecy.
their tools.
And he knows what the Bene Gesserit have done there too. He knows about the selective breeding program. He knows about the religiosity. Like, he's aware of all of it, and he doesn't tell the Fremen. So he does manipulate the Fremen. Christopher Walken. Wow, these sandworms are crazy.
Christopher Walken was just being Christopher Walken.
He was good in it, but yeah. I mean, when you get Christopher Walken, you get Christopher Walken. He was Christopher Walken. I thought he was good in it, though. I enjoyed the portrayal of the Emperor. I thought he could be a little more flamboyant, but whatever.
Denis Villeneuve just didn't want to give you any flamboyantness. You weren't going to get your flamboyant Baron.
Was the Fade Paul parallel also this present in the book? Did Fade do the box test, or was it a Villeneuve addition? It felt tacked on. It was tacked on. I'm pretty sure that Fade does not do the box test in the book, but he is, like Paul, a candidate for Kwisatz Haderach. That is in the book. The idea that the Bene Gesserit support Fade for a short time as a stopgap to Paul, to stopping and reinstituting their because they wanted to do 10 or 15 more generations before the Kwisatz or whatever. Paul was early because Jessica chose to give birth to a boy instead of a girl like she was ordered to do. So Fade is not that. Fade was just supposed to be another stop in the line. So, yeah. Did Lady Finring get knocked up in the book, or did they just imply it? They just imply it. The meeting between the Bene Gesserit and Fade was a cool scene. That whole scene with Fade, that really was, that came at the perfect time in the movie, too. Just like you'd gotten this sun-drenched Arrakis look forever, and then all of a sudden you're on Gidi Prime with the black sun and the weird phosphorescent light that makes everybody super pale. And it really, he just stripped the color out of it, basically, and created this really stark black and white kind of design. And that was really cool. It was such a cool tonal shift in the film. It was needed to break up the endless sand dunes and sun and, shit. So it was good. It was really good. And Fade was done really well. I mean, Austin Butler is just fucking transcendent, in my opinion. He just looks great.
He's just a really versatile actor.
He is. He really is. The way that he was tied to the Baron through their accent and vocal patterns, it's almost like they had Austin learn to do a slightly hackneyed impression of the Baron, because they sound very much alike. Like you can hear the genetic lineage in their voices and
the imitation.
Yeah.
Like, it's a conscious imitation too.
Because he wants to be the Baron, right? He wants to be the Emperor. I feel like some big loud horn noises were timed for right when people might be drifting off. I fell asleep twice and got blasted back to consciousness. Yeah.
I think you were just sleepy.
You might have been a little too tired to go see a 3-hour fucking philosophical treatise of a movie.
It didn't feel that long, honestly.
No.
I mean, I was maybe getting a little uncomfortable towards the end.
I was ready. I was ready by the end, but
not because of the movie, just because of the sitting for that long.
Yeah, it was a long movie. It didn't feel extra long like Killers of the Flower Moon did. God, that movie felt interminable. That movie just went on and on and on. It was a good movie, but fuck, was it long. And you felt every minute of that film sitting in that theater. This one moved, like like I said, I didn't start to feel like, man, I really could stretch my legs until like the last 20 minutes or so, which is about perfect. But yeah, overall, really good movie. I would say that this movie is a whole lot better than the first one. Just felt like it really had its legs under it. Whereas in the first movie, beautifully done, great character introductions, but it did not feel like it had its legs underneath it. As soon as it got its legs underneath it, it ended.
Mm.
That's how the first movie felt like to me. And this one starts running. Its legs are underneath it, and it's chugging away. So that was good.
Yeah, because like I don't think because you remember when the first part came out, there was a lot of those like side by sides with the
Yes.
Lynch Dune. I don't think you could do that with this one.
No, you could not. This one definitely had its own. It came into its own. It was great. It was great. I would say that like if the first movie was a 7 out of 10 for me, and I don't like doing the numbers rating, but I would say the first movie was a 7. This one would be an 8, 8.5, 9. I mean, it really is a pretty marked improvement over the original.
Yeah, because like if you drop what you know about the books, you wouldn't have an issue with how they did it.
No, not at all. Like people that have not read the books aren't even going to notice that, it makes sense to them that Paul is the one that, because they don't know what's coming and they don't know the portent. So, the nitpicks that I have are definitely like nerdy comic book guy nitpicks. But would they work together well as one piece of media? Yes. This movie literally picks up like seconds after the first, like maybe an hour after the first movie ends. It literally like no time has gone by. They still have Jamis's body, and they're taking it back to the siege. So
Yeah, like they're probably gonna put out an edition that's both of them together.
yeah,
Maybe even a little director's cut to like meld them a little better or something.
you know what I would like is if they did like what Netflix did for what you call it,
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight, yeah, and did it episodic. Both movies episodically would be cool.
You want me to put this in the freezer for you?
Yeah, maybe, or you can have it. Go ahead. Oh, you know what? I need a J. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go grab my smoke.
You want to say hi to the people? Come here. You hop up here? Let people see? Come here. No? Come here. Come here. Hop up. Come on. You can do it. I'll hold it. I'll hold it still. Come on. Come on. No? You don't want to do it? You don't want to hop up and let people see? I was trying to get Dinor to hop up in your chair so people could see him, but you didn't want to do it.
You didn't want to do it? You don't like that rocking chair. It moves too much. D. Why you no jump in Dad's chair? That would have been cute. That would have been cute. Yeah, those are my thoughts on the movie anyway. Really well done, well casted, beautifully shot, as you would expect from a Villeneuve film. Some great CG, some great practical. My biggest disappointment is probably the Baron overall for the film. I just didn't like the way that they chose to portray him as a more stoic and grumbly guy and less. Because, like, in the book, he's very much like a big, fat aristocrat. You know, a big. You know, he wears a red velvet and ruffles around his neck and his wrists, and he's very upper crusty. Wears lots of jewelry, rings on every finger, and a heavy chain, and you know the whole nine. Yeah, he's opulent. Yeah. And in this one, he's just kind of like a big bad guy. They even have him sink into another puddle of that sludge instead of just showing him. I was like, no, don't do the sludge again, please. No more sludge. And you know what the funny thing is? The Lynch Dunes' use of the sludge was way better. That scene where the Baron, you know, is talking to his group and then he kicks everybody out of the room except for Fade and Raban. And he goes over and he molests that slave and pulls his heart plug out. There's a point in that movie where he comes floating down and looks at the slave, and the slave is like, and then he goes through this like curtain of black water that just like cascades over him and wets his hair down and goes through his face and down his body as he's like, that was so cool. That moment is like, for me, that's the Baron, you know. And there just really wasn't that. I think the movie was hampered, honestly, by its PG-13 rating.
Yeah, they didn't want to show the full perviness of the Baron.
They did not want to show the extent of the Baron's degeneracy. And they cut away a lot. There was a lot of like bloody stuff that happened with no blood. Like, you know, Paul stabs the Baron like through the neck here. And man, dude, you would be spewing blood out of your mouth as you died. You know, you'd choking on your blood. And the Baron just goes like, oh, you know, like, it's like, oh, well, okay, I guess.
I did like them showing them pulling the water out of the bodies.
That was cool. That was very neat.
Because did they do that in Lynch or no?
No.
Because that's really important to the Fremen.
Yes.
It's not wasting that.
Yeah. Isn't the Baron fat because of a disease? And he uses a veil of opulence to disguise the reason he's fat, so he doesn't appear weak. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't remember that being a plot line in the book, but it might be.
I mean, regardless, it's his opulence that makes him want to float.
Right. Well, it's that, and the fact that he's so fat, he has a hard time getting around.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to like show that he has a hard time getting around,
right.
So he floats.
I did like that rig that they gave him, that weird floating thing that followed him around. They fattened him up in this movie, too. I went and looked last night because I was like, let me see some pictures of the Baron from the first movie.
Yeah.
He's way fatter in the second one. They fattened him way the fuck up for the second one. Like, visibly fatter. So
like,
that
you
was
can just see his belly going way
Yeah, you can see his belly way out, and like his neck and shoulders, they blended those down, so he's got like a big, thick, chunky neck and a big belly. In the first movie, he was kind of slim thick, you know, like almost. I don't know how to put it, but he was not like thunder chunky fat, and in this one he was. So I liked that. That was nice.
I think the only true way to capture the Baron, though, would be to like have someone that's 1,000 pounds. But I feel like that's what's implied.
Yeah, I mean they would have needed maybe not 1,000, but like maybe 700 or 800 pound fat guy. And really, like they could have done it with Stellan Skarsgård. I really feel like he's a pretty good actor, but he's just so one note in this for me. I wanted to see more of the Baron's inner life, and you don't really get to see it at all. He's just kind of a visual representation of the evil bad guy. really enjoyed the film, though. It was really good. Could have been better. Like that whole scene with Fade in the arena slaughtering the last of the Atreides. That should have been gory and bloody. He should have like bathed in some blood. That it really does suck. The ratings thing for movies, because that it's not like Dune is like the goriest book you've ever read, but it doesn't shy away from it either.
Yeah, and the other downside of it being PG-13 is we had all those stupid, like, family ads before.
That was retarded. Like, school districts have an ad? I didn't know that. Like, a whole school district that's like 50 miles away from here is showing ads in our town for, like, bring your kid here. It's like, schools have commercials now? Like, what? How about no?
Or, like, they had another thing for, like, child support services.
Yeah, there was like a county child support, like, co-parenting is tough. You can call child support services and we'll help you figure it out. It's like, what is this? Can I get a Pepsi ad or something? Can you do a Skittles ad, please? This is lame. Javier Bardem's performance was a triumph. Best part of the movie. He got the only laugh in the film, which was great. His like insistence that everything that Paul did was a sign.
Yeah.
So even when Paul, like, that was the laugh, right? Paul goes, "I'm not a Messiah," and everybody's like, "Oh!" And then Stilgar's
the
like,
Messiah would be so humble.
yeah, he's like, he's too humble to even admit he's the Messiah, just as written. It was funny.
People did clap at the end.
Yeah, there was spontaneous applause at the end. It was not a full, but packed theater.
I'd say like 2/3,
75% full. Maybe a little more. Honestly, the back row was pretty empty. We lucked out. I don't know why I don't like sitting in the back row in a normal movie usually, but in an IMAX, that's the place to be, in my opinion. So yeah, we were all the way in the back row, and we didn't have people sitting next to us. But I hate going to a popular movie because I always get there early, get in my seat, and then every time a group of people come in, I'm like, please don't come here. Please don't come to my row. Please don't come to my row. Don't come to my row. Don't sit next to me. I do wish our theater would take their IMAX theater and rip about a quarter of the seats out of it.
Yeah.
And put some bigger, nicer recliners in it and shit, like I've had at some movie theaters.
Well, that's what they're reserving for the VIP rooms.
Yeah, the VIP, you got a big fucking lazy boy recliner to sit in and shit. That's kind of cool. I definitely want to try that. I don't know, maybe we'll go see this again.
Oh, in the
VIP.
Maybe.
I enjoyed it enough to go see it again, honestly. Yeah. It's been a lot. The last movie that I went and saw twice in the theaters was the first Avatar.
Yeah.
I just felt like, man, I could see that again. And I feel like I could see this one again, too. I feel like now that I've, like, scrutinized it, I want to watch it again and just enjoy it, you know?
It'd be nice to, like, watch the first one again at home before we go see it, too. I don't know if you rewatched Dune before we saw that anytime recently.
What was it?
Did you rewatch the first part anytime recently before?
Last year. So, like, late last year.
But it'd be nice to, like, watch it, like, right before.
Yeah. Yeah, watch it as, like, a contiguous thing.
Yeah, like, watch it at home and then go and see the second part.
Be a long day, though.
Yeah.
First one's almost 3 hours. Like, 6 hours of movies. Here we go. It's like
But like, we'd watch the first part at home, so it'd be different.
I know, but it's still like that day we're doing a full day's work of just Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Paul, you should watch Monty Python's Life of Brian. Well, we've seen Life of Brian. What makes you think that I haven't seen Life of Brian? The same, he's too humble, he must be the Messiah, was ripped directly from that. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Yeah, because Brian's like, I'm not the Messiah. And they're like, oh, he's so humble. That is true. Wow, ripped off a joke from Life of Brian for the movie. Wow. Didn't even realize, dude. But that is so true. Whatever.
Every movie has little references like that if you
It
look
worked.
hard enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked.
The only one we haven't watched together, I think, is Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Of the Mel Gibson ones.
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks, sorry.
Mel Gibson is the anti-Semite.
Yeah. I meant Mel Brooks.
If Mel Brooks were an anti-Semite, that would be odd. Yeah, it would be. He'd be assault. Well, I mean, it's not an unknown phenomenon for a member of a racial subgroup to hate their own people. I mean, you've seen, like, you know, the quote unquote token black right wing commentators that are constantly saying that black people are violent thugs and shit, and responsible for all their own bullshit. And it's the only reason black people are fucked up is because the men don't stay at home. They never want to talk about why the men don't stay at home, because that would imply that it's not their fault. But yeah, no. Yeah, Uncle Ruckus's or Uncle Tom's is the traditional way of describing a black person that is pro-white and anti-black. Whatever that means. Like, a lot of the hatred that happened when hip-hop culture became ascendant came from the black community. The whites were in on it too. But older blacks were the loudest critics of hip-hop culture, if you look back on it. Church-going blacks and community leaders and old kind of black boomers were very much probably justified hip-hop as trash. Jason, don't. You're absolutely retarded, and I want to strangle you to death now. And I think that's why you said it. Hip-hop is a transcendent art form with a lineage that goes all the way back to the origins of music. You can trace the first caveman that hit a stick against a fucking hollow tree log directly and cleanly to hip-hop. It's just a beautiful, absolutely wonderful art form. No, California is, I mean, we might burn this year, but it's not going to be as bad as past years. The mountains are soaked.
And last year it was good too.
I went and checked after this last snowstorm we had, which was pretty mild down here. It just rained a couple of days. But up in the Sierras, especially the northern Sierras, it was a blizzard. The northern Sierras are at 110% of snowpack, and they stopped counting snowpack in May. Mm-hmm. So there's still all of this month, all of April, and all of May, and it's at 110% in the northern Sierras. So California's water troubles and dryness troubles are over for now, at least for the coming couple of years. The reservoirs down south are over capacity. They're opening spillways. There's a reservoir not far from where we live that the spillway has been opened for the first time in like a decade. So these reservoirs in the southern and central Sierras are full. And the northern Sierras, which didn't get the atmospheric river last year, got it this year. And so they got the atmospheric river 10 feet of snow at the peaks. And so now the reservoirs up north will be full, and California will be flush again with water
Yeah.
for the next 5 or 10
Like
years.
you can see how much green is on the reservoir map.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this was all red
Yeah.
3 years ago. It would have been all red dots, and now it's all green. Yeah, there's a lake in Death Valley. There's always been a natural lake in Death Valley, but it's just usually dry because it's, that lake bed has now got water in it for the first time in my lifetime, I think. So it's pretty crazy. There's been a pretty big, but you see, the funny thing is that drought has moved from the extreme west into the south. Just like that. It's like a drought shadow. It moved from the jet stream, kind of changed just enough to where it pushed those dry conditions.
Yeah, I saw another thing about climate change of like planes are going hella faster sometimes because they have stronger headwinds.
Yeah.
Or like you're going 100 miles an hour more than they're supposed to.
TJ just texted and said, "Paul, did you see Dune 2?" I feel bad not getting back to him. I'll get back to him after this. You can just tune into this and see that I did. Maybe. Yeah, you could text him real quick and just say, "Hey, Paul is streaming and saw your text. We saw Dune 2 and it was fucking great."
Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, tell him he needs to see it. Oh, we'll definitely discuss Dune 2, especially if TJ gets to see it today. Or whatever. Or if he saw it yesterday. I don't know. He didn't say whether he saw it or not. I'm hoping he did, because it would be cool today to be able to cover that. Spoil the shit out of it. Yeah, dude. Well, I'll have you on a ideology or something, Jason. We'll Discord it up and you can talk to me about it or not. But I'm warning you, if you're gonna if like your tact is gonna be hip hop is lame, then we're gonna fight. We're gonna have a fight. TJ would make a great Baron. Yeah, maybe, yeah.
He could definitely do the flamboyantness.
He's big enough too. He's big. The Baron is supposed to be not just enormously fat, but super. He's just a huge person.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason reminds me of a dude. There was a guy in high school who was like a metalhead or whatever. That was his thing, right? Like it's one of those people that, like, instead of just being fans of something, it becomes their aesthetic. Yeah. He was a metal guy, and he had this shirt that he would wear because hip hop and rap was super popular when I was in high school. It was like overtaking rock at that point, and of course in the early 2000s it did just that. But we're talking like late 90s here. Metalhead dude, and he had this shirt he would wear, and he fought to be able to wear it to school, and it said "Flush rap down the trap," and it had just a picture of a toilet. And yeah, people hated the shirt and shit, and teachers tried to get him like, you gotta go home and change your shirt or put on this school shirt or whatever for the rest of the day. And he fought it and won. And once he won that like challenge, like, can I wear this or not? Once they said, okay, you can wear it, he wore it every day. He was committed at the very least. You got to give him that, I suppose, if nothing else. Flush rap down the trap.
They sent a few girls home at my school for having like skirts that were too short.
Yeah.
Or
Girls
whatever.
got sent home all the time for that shit. They were always pushing that fucking envelope.
But it was only the ones with booties. The skinny white chicks never got sent home.
Well, that's because the booty makes the skirt shorter.
Yeah.
Because it pulls the fabric up.
But I mean, like, literally,
booty.
like, the same length.
Yeah.
It'll, like, it's not even like
it was
pulls
just
it
the
up
voluptuous ladies that
Yeah.
got picked on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can smell that guy from here. What guy? Me?
They mean the metalhead dude.
Oh,
that
the
wore
metalhead dude?
The shirt for,
yeah.
like...
Yeah, you know. He was a bro. I had a goat horror shirt that said "Who needs God when you've got Satan?" and the same thing happened. Yeah, like they challenged it just based on like I think they said like inappropriateness or whatever, and he was like, "How is there's no curse words? There's nothing disgusting. It's a picture of a toilet. It's not a dirty toilet, you know. It's just a toilet." And they weren't able to stop him from wearing it. Once he won that, like I said, he at least had to wear it once a week, you know. At least he had to make sure he proudly displayed his fresh flesh wrap down the trap shirt that he fought for. See, even cancel culture existed back. Yeah, there's this idea amongst young people, and I don't blame them because I felt the same way when I was a young man. That we are like when I say we, I'm speaking now from a millennial Zoomer voice. We are different. We are unique from our parents. We don't do the same things that they did. You know, this stuff that's come around, this new cultural pressures that are kind of prevalent, they're new. And they really aren't. They really are not. Cancel culture is just a more widespread thing because people, like, imagine if that kid, if there was a religious group or a black group that were like, this is hate speech because hip hop is a black art. And here's a guy just basically wearing a shirt that says fuck black people to school every day. You know, like if the internet has had existed, that movement could have started and maybe that would have turned out different, you know. That's the only difference. The difference is that what used to be just a local controversy now has the potential to be an international controversy. Yeah, I couldn't wear Raiders gear to school. Yeah, specifically Raiders gear at first, and then they realized that they had to just do a blanket ban on sports teams. But Raiders gear was popular amongst gangsters in LA. And that was a cultural force that was reaching outside of the boundaries of LA through NWA and Dr. Dre and Warren G and all these dudes, Snoop.
It was like a replacement for like bandana bands.
Yeah, I mean they banned handkerchiefs because gangsters used that to signify their colors. And then gangsters stopped using them. They didn't completely stop, but a lot of the gangs stopped using the more overtly well-known to police things because they were tired of getting pulled over and fucked with. And so they adopted Raiders or sports teams. And the sports teams that were adopted in California were the two Cali teams of note in the area. So it was LA with the Raiders and San Francisco 49ers. And the Raiders in my area were typically a Crip gang. The Crip gangs would wear Raiders gear, and the Blood gangs would wear Niners gear. So there you
Why
go.
didn't they pick the Rams? Because they're blue.
They're not as cool. The Raiders are cooler, and the Raiders are
Or was the Rams not in LA at that time?
no, the Rams were. Yeah, the Rams moved to St. Louis in the late 90s or early 2000s. Why are Raiders controversial? The Raiders are a controversial team because of Al Davis, who was the owner of the Raiders back in their heyday. And he had a philosophy that remains a Raiders fan staple to this day, and it was just win, baby. Just win, comma, baby. And what he meant by that was sometimes you got to take a penalty. Sometimes you got to hack the kicker. Sometimes you got to knock that fucking, take the 15-yard personal foul and knock that fucking quarterback's dick in the dirt. Pile drive his motherfucking ass, put him out of the game, break a rib. Do what you got to do, just win, baby. And so that mentality is seen as unsportsmanlike and shitty and cheating. So that's what makes them controversial as a team, because that legacy still exists in their team. For example, I don't know if this year, I can't give you stats, but just a few years ago, the Raiders were still the most penalized team in the NFL. And a lot of Raiders fans argue that it's because of their reputation. They get heavy-handed officiation because of their reputation. But it really is just because that's part of their coaching strategy. Sometimes taking a 10-yard penalty to put somebody on their ass or put the fear of God in them is worth it. You know, even if you don't knock rough the passer to the point of him being hurt, he's going to be a little more jumpy in the pocket for the rest of the game if you put his dick in the dirt real hard. That's how they man, there's military shit going on today.
Yep.
Earlier, there was a whole flock of F-16 Falcons.
Well, it's
Or F-16 Hornets.
It's Super Tuesday.
Is it Hornets or Falcons? F-15 Hornet, F-16 Falcon. Falcons.
I mean, like, it's Super Tuesday. That might be why they're a little
on high alert. Yeah, I don't know why the military would be on alert, though. Do they think it's going to be...
They're prepping.
That was a dual-blade helicopter of some kind. That was a big chopper. That was not a ghetto bird.
Well, like, the National Guard has access to that too, right? The big choppers. Like
And the
that.
Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Navy that flies over here.
Yeah.
They're coming from Lemoore Naval Air Station, which, you know, for us is an hour up the road, but for a jet is 10 minutes away, you know, or less. And they fly over the valley doing training shit. And we get a lot of it here now. Twice, 2 or 3 times a week, I'll see a fighter jet here. My buddy's whole fam is the military, including him, and he just wants to play Helldivers 2 right now. Oh, okay. Thanks for that anecdote, my friend. I'm sure it somehow fit the conversation.
Need anything else, baby?
No, I'm good. Thank you, though, honey. Dirty D, come here. Let me see you. Let me see if everybody can see you. Oh, look at this. Fluffy, puffy boy. So clean, so soft, so pretty. Oh, he's so good. He's so cute. He's such a good boy. He's so nice. Oh, yeah. Big yawn. Get my yawn. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh, you like it. Oh, you like it. Oh, you're nice and warm, too. Blessed dinosaur visit for the stream. Dinosaur's old man Winter now, man. He's 8. Isn't that crazy? Old Man River. That's the cutest pet of all the FF pets. Totally fucking agree. Nobody beats Dinosaur. And it's just like, I love the other pets, but it's just apparent. When I take Dinosaur out somewhere, he's like a magnet to people. They have to stop. You know, people are usually pretty like standoffish about dogs, but people have to say something to him. He's just too cute. He's like a little fucking teddy bear. Paul, what's your retrospective on Boogie the dog? My retrospective? So Boogie was a papered AKC. Well, she wasn't papered because she couldn't be, but she had lineage. She was a mutant. She was a white miniature schnauzer. And we got her specifically because of my allergies. So schnauzers don't shed and have low dander in comparison to other dogs. They don't have an undercoat. So like Dinor. Dinor also does not shed. Um, and yeah, she's white, and that was why she couldn't get AKC papers, because white is considered to be a mutation. She was a mutant, basically, a total fucking mutant. And yeah, almost died. We took her down as a puppy to get her first shots, and she went into anaphylaxis and almost died. They had to resuscitate her. Um, and she just was never quite right, never quite right in the head, and never healthy. You know, she had just constant health problems. Her teeth were poor. Um, she was neurotic in a major way. You know, I know a lot of dogs have neuroses and stuff, but she was fucking. She was a complete and utter nightmare of a dog, and I loved her so much. You know, she was just so special to me because one of the things about her breed was, you know, they're that type of breed that loves people, but they choose a person. Some breeds like Dinor, I know he loves me. Maybe I'm his favorite person, but you can't tell. He loves everybody, right? So if like my friend Zeke comes over, he's all over Zeke. If Amelia's out here, he's all over her. He just, you know, if I'm out here, he's all over me. He just loves people. Boogie wasn't that way. She was kind of standoffish with everybody but me. But me, she was like, she would just lay on me and sleep. We slept together every night since she was a puppy until the day she died. We slept together. Just she would curl up on me or near me, up against me somehow. We were real close. I had a real close relationship with her, way closer than any other dog. Sorry, Dinor. I love you too, bud. But yeah, she passed away from liver and kidney failure. And it was just a genetic problem that she had. Her liver and kidneys were ill developed and failed when she was around 5. And we had to have her put down. And it sucked. And it changed the way I think about dogs forever. I'll never in my life ever even think about getting a designer dog ever again. You know, lesson learned. No more puppy mills for me. But yeah, the 5 years that she was alive, she was real special to me, and she still is. I have a statue of her with her collar on it. It's a little weird, I know, but that's my little shrine to Boogie. She was ultra special to me. My bestest friend of all time. She really was. She was my constant companion. And the funny thing is, I didn't even really want the dog. My ex-wife was the one that wanted the dog. She was my girlfriend at the time. Probably drinking too much. She didn't drink. I didn't give her beers. Dinor's just a straight out mutt, and he's the healthiest dog, you know. Well, at least in comparison to fucking Boogie. Dinor's super healthy. But yeah, no mutts from here on out. They're just genetically stronger. You know, they have less inbreeding and all that. Dinor's a weird little chimera of a dog. He doesn't look like anything that he's supposed to look. Kind of, you can kind of see the Shih Tzu, but that's about it. The dude is a very strange mix, but he's super cute because of it. Got like a little teddy bear of a face. In Danish, we call mutts mixes. Yeah, I mean, that's basically people will call that too, mixed breed. We use that as well. That's like what you'll hear from actual breeders or whatever. like mixed breed. I like Danishes. Me too. You guys were on point for that. Good job on them Danishes. Gotta give you guys props on them Danishes. Dinor looks like a terrier. He's a terrier mix. So he's a Shih Tzu, Chihuahua, Cocker Spaniel, Hound. And he's almost an equal mix of those four breeds. And it has created a strange monster. Dinor is way bigger than he was supposed to be because of the Hound and the Cocker Spaniel. It really expressed itself in him. And his voice is probably 3 or 4 times louder than it should be given his size because of the Hound. He's got a Hound set of vocal cords in a Cocker Spaniel sized body. It's crazy. It will literally stop time. If you're sitting in the room, like if I had one of you guys over and we were chilling on the couch smoking a doobie together and watching a movie, and Dinor was in the room with us and all of a sudden exploded into barking at something he heard or saw outside, everything in the room would stop. It's not like, oh, come on, man. It's like, what the fuck? It's piercing. And it's that Hound. You know, hounds we're trained to be able to vocalize really loudly because they're hunting dogs, right? They go and chase down things and find the things that have been shot and all of that, right? That's why Dinor is also obsessive about smells. Dinor will, like right now, he's just chilling, but a lot of times he'll just be on the grass, like, you know, sniffing every little thing. And he is very obsessive about smells, odors, whatever. Dirty D. Dirty D from the salty sea. Can he smell when someone is weird? No. If let's just put it this way. If Freddy Krueger walked into my backyard right now, bladed thing out, Dinor would bark at him and then run up to him to sniff him. And if Freddy pet him, it would be over. He'd be up in Freddy's lap and jumping on Freddy and trying to get Freddy to fucking play fetch with him. Dinor does not have bad person radar at all. He just loves everybody, and he thinks everybody loves him. Yeah, maybe Freddy would fall in love with him and me and Freddy would chill then. There was a meme I saw of some dude in like a Freddy Krueger cosplay all hunched down smoking a cigarette. And the caption was, when you spend so much time chasing people around in their dreams that you forget to chase your own. That's a beautiful meme. Okay. That's a great meme. That's a spicy meme. I like that meme. How's the diet going? Really good, man. Really good. I'm not calling it a diet though. That's part of the what I'm doing here is like I have an unhealthy relationship with food, right? And that includes when I try and diet. So I have done calorie counting. I've done things where I like weigh myself regularly, and those things become really unhealthy for me because I get really depressed when those numbers aren't exactly where they should be. And I get really fixated on it in an unhealthy way. And so I'm not doing that. I'm not calorie counting. What I'm trying to do is make healthier choices about what I eat. So, for example, for the last 3 years or so, I've been Mr. DoorDash. Okay. I've got, a little bit of expendable income. I can afford to do Mr. DoorDash. So I've been, hey, let's get McDonald's tonight. Let's get some chicken nuggets, or let's get some burgers, or let's get some tacos, or let's get some enchiladas, or let's get a big old sandwich, or let's get this, or let's get that. And it's a lot of meat. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it was a lot of meat and a lot of calories, right? If you really break it down, a lot of fat. And so I'm trying to make healthier choices about what I put into my body. And I think the most important thing I'm doing is I'm trying to listen to my body's triggers. So I don't eat if I'm not hungry. I've always been that way. That's not new to me. What is new to me is that I will stop eating no matter where I'm at as soon as my stomach tells me that's enough. As soon as I start to feel, because like as a fat guy, you love that full feeling, and being over full is like, it's not super pleasant, but it's something you chase as a fat guy. Just being inundated with food, just like, oh my God, I'm gonna pop. And I would chase that full feeling, that over full feeling a lot. And I'm not doing that anymore. Give you an example. Yesterday before the movie, we had kind of a date night. We went to, oh fuck. It's a Chinese place. PF Chang's, right? It's kind of like a dinner, like a more upscaler American Chinese place. And so I got Kung Pao shrimp, right? Which was shrimp and veggies stir fried in a sauce with fried rice on the side. And we started with some edamame. So I had a few pieces of edamame, which that's just soybeans and the pod salted, right? So I had a few of those. And then I ate probably what I would consider to be a quarter of my plate, maybe a little more than a quarter of my plate of Kung Pao shrimp. And my stomach was like, we're good. I didn't feel like I needed another bite. I wasn't still hungry. And so I just stopped. Now, there was a full ass plate of food there. I shared some with Amelia because she'd just gotten a small sushi roll. So I gave a few scoops to her. But when the guy came, he was like, let me get you a box for that. And I was like, well, we're going to the movies, I can't really do that. Oh, okay. But it was clear that there was a lot of food left on the plate. And that sucks. I don't like wasting food. But I'm telling you, I feel so much better when and it seems simple, I know, to a person that hasn't struggled with maybe food addiction or whatever you want to call it. But it's like a revelation to me, because I've never given myself that slack. I've never dialed in on that feeling for long enough to make it matter. And now that I'm doing that, I'm dropping weight like crazy. And I don't know that because I don't know how much, because I'm not weighing myself, but I can feel it in my clothes. I know which areas of my body gain and lose weight, and I can feel it. Like my arms tend to get really big and flabby. My arms are shrinking. I can feel the difference in my clothes. It's not as tight around my shoulders and arms. So in addition to that, trying to make healthier choices about what I put into my body. I've eliminated meat, not for ethical or dietary reasons, but because I have textural issues with it, and I always have. I've always struggled to enjoy meat. I love the taste of it, but there are certain types of meat that are just ubiquitous in American cuisine that I just don't like. Chicken is one of them. I hate to be that guy. I love chicken when it's processed and deep fried and whatever. I can handle it in that form, but that's it. I do not like a chicken breast, and they want it if you go on a diet, that's part of the problem that I had, right, with diets in the past, is you'd go, okay, I'm gonna go on this diet, and you get online and you find a diet, and what does it have you eating 6 days a week? Steamed chicken breast or grilled chicken breast with broccoli. And it's just man, I had this internal conflict, because I'm supposed, it's hard to explain. It's really weird, guys. It really is. I have a fucking my mentality around food is real fucking strange. Because my whole life I felt like you're wrong for not liking this chicken. Everybody eats it, and you've tasted it, and it tastes good, so just eat it. I was real like I would force myself, and that's part of that is my upbringing. My mom's childhood, my mother's childhood was food insecure. She didn't starve, but her family struggled to make ends meet and put food on the table quite often. And so when I was a kid and she made something, clean your plate was a thing. And if she made a chicken breast and I went like, I don't like the way this, I don't like chicken breast, she'd be like, you don't eat that, you're done for the day. You don't eat shit. You're not getting anything. You eat your chicken. And I know what she was doing. It didn't come from a mean place with her. She wasn't trying to be bad. But that instilled in me this kind of like looking at eating as like suck it up and grit your teeth and get through it, you know? And I did that my whole life. And it caused me to seek out processed versions, over processed versions of the stuff I didn't like chicken, right? Especially chicken, turkey, those sorts of meat, those lean proteins, super prevalent in diet food and just food in general. And so I was like, well, you're supposed to eat chicken. So, oh, I like fried chicken. I don't like grilled chicken. I like breaded, or whatever. And it caused me to eat shitty food. Did you have a PTSD? Yes, I had an experience when I was a kid where they were grilling up a bunch of chicken on the bone. So you know how that is, right? Drumsticks and breasts and, the chicken pieces on the grill, seasoned up and real nice, right? And they were doing it in batches because it was a big family get together, a big union family party. And I grabbed, they'd just taken some of the chicken off, and there was a bunch on the grill. And I think they got mixed up. They got some of the done chicken mixed up with some of the chicken that was still cooking on the other side of the grill. And I grabbed a drumstick because that was my favorite when I was a kid, and went, and when I bit it, I could feel like there was something wrong immediately. It didn't yield to my teeth. My teeth like bounced off of it, and I really bit, and there was like this tearing sensation. And when I ripped my mouth away, it was just raw. It was just raw inside. It was like browned on the outside enough to where it looked like it was plausibly done, but it was raw as shit in the middle. And there was like sinew that came out with it. So like it was like there was a thing I remember like a sinew just hanging on my lip, and I grabbed it and pulled it, and it just like came out of my mouth. It was fucked, right? And that was it, right? And I know it sounds stupid, but that moment changed my whole life. It really did. Because after that, eating stopped being pleasurable and started being like, let's get this done. You ever try intermittent fasting? No. I'm not like, I appreciate it, but I'm not taking advice. And I'm not doing a gimmick or a fad. I'm eating healthily when I need to, and I'm making healthier choices about what I'm eating. I'm not going to do the latest TikTok thing. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean, but I just don't want this discussion to turn into endless. Have you tried that? The answer is probably yes. I have not tried intermittent fasting, but I've done keto. I've done everything. All right. All the little fads, all the little do this, and here's a weight loss tip. Trust me, my life has revolved around it in a certain extent, right? This works. It works because I don't feel like I'm forcing myself to do it. I like the things that I'm choosing to eat, and they are things that I don't have textural issues with, that I don't have negative associations with, texturally or otherwise, and it's fine. I'm good with that. I stopped, like, here's how bad I got. I stopped being able to handle or look at chicken breasts because I hated them so much, but I was forcing myself to eat them. How fucked up is that? Because you don't turn it down because everybody else eats them and you're being a pussy and you're just like blah, 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 blah. But I just got to the point where like I used to fucking grin and bear it and grab those chicken breasts out and rinse them and oh god and pat them down and be gagging. I can't do it anymore. And it really was like I don't know if I talked about it. The catalyst for what I did for changing was Amelia was cooking one night and she was cooking a chicken breast meal, a grilled chicken breast and a veggie side or something. And she came in to show me, and she doesn't know about this. I didn't share this type of shit with people. So don't think that this was bad on her part. She didn't know the extent of my aversion because I thought it was so stupid. I hid it from people. Anyway, she wanted to show me how absurdly huge this chicken breast was. She was like, "Oh my god, check out this mutant chicken breast," and she brought it in and like picked it up off of a plate, and it was just this big, glistening, wet with that white fat and connective tissue on it, and she was like, and I was like, oh, that's gross, baby. Yeah, yeah. What are they doing to them chickens, right? And she went and cooked it. And that night, I could not, as I sat down to that meal that she worked so hard to cook for me, I could not get that picture out of my head of that breast just being like this big and like and all shiny and glistening and covered in all that weird fat. And it's making me sick to think. Give me a sec. It legit makes me fucking feel gross to Anyway, that was the catalyst for this. Because I sat down in front of that and I took a bite of it and it wouldn't go down. I started gagging. And I did not want Amelia to feel bad. And she had worked so hard to cook it and I felt awful. But I couldn't eat it. And then I had to talk to her about this stuff. And for the first time in my life, I addressed this because I didn't even think it was a problem. It was so innate to me to have this idiosyncrasy where I hated this type of food but forced myself to eat it that I'd never discussed it. And I was forced to discuss with her what was going on in my head because I couldn't eat her food that she'd worked so hard on, you know? So, and made so well. Did you have those texture issues with seafood as well? I get weirder reaction to shrimp. No, shrimp is fine. I don't have the problem with shrimp. Shrimp are solid and uniform, you know? They don't feel like they're a bunch of different parts. It's one, like, that's why I could eat a chicken nugget right now and be fine, right? It's not even really chicken anymore. It's like a greasy, fried, kind of breaded protein thing that's made out of chicken. And I feel kind of that way about shrimp, although shrimp is served whole. You know, it's uniform in there. It doesn't feel like there's a bunch of moving parts that your teeth are, whatever. You get, that's part of it, right? So shrimp doesn't, I don't have a problem with shrimp or clams or scallops or fish, really. It's not a textural problem with fish. I don't like fish, the fishy flavor. That fishiness is not, I'm not a fan. So we tried salmon the other night, and it's legit the first time in my life that I've ever sat down to a piece of salmon for me. I've tried bites of people's salmon a long time ago and didn't like it, but I wanted to try it. And she made a beautiful piece of teriyaki glazed salmon, cooked with the skin on and just beautifully seasoned and beautifully prepared. And I had a bite of it and I just couldn't eat it. I felt bad, but it's just one of those things. It wasn't a textural thing, it was a flavor thing. I have the flavor thing too. That I cannot, like, well, I don't really eat it at all anymore, but like I had this thing with pork my whole life. Other like bacon, because bacon is just like fat that's fried in its own self, right? Like you put it in the pan and it just cooks itself in its own fat. When you get bacon, it's just crispy and it has its own flavor. But like I've never once in my life sat down to a pork chop. Not once. I will not eat a pork chop. The Because I've had a bite of pork chop before, and there's a flavor. It's not a textural thing. It's a flavor thing. There's something about pork. It's got a certain finish to it that I just don't like. Probably cooked salmon has elements that distract from the fishy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It had dill. She did all that. It was really well seasoned. Really, like, it was not poorly cooked, but the fishiness was there. I've heard people say that, like, fresher salmon, because it was a frozen salmon fillet, right? Which is what you get at a lot of restaurants, especially in a place like this that's like pretty far from the ocean. I've heard people say that if I go to a place where salmon is fished and sourced locally, that it will be less fishy. And I'm willing to try that, but I just don't live in a place like that right now. Yeah. Yeah, I don't eat ribs. I know it's weird. I've never been able to eat any kind of meat on the bone, and ribs have such an awful textural thing for me because they're sinewy and weird sometimes. I love the flavor of them. I've taken bites of ribs and been like, damn, that's good, but I could never get a plate of them. It's different for me. Taking a bite of something and trying it is different than sitting down in front of a plate of it and having to go bite after bite. I couldn't do it. So I wouldn't. Somebody asked, like, what kind of entrees would you like for, like, a dinner? I'll just give you an example. Like, not last night because we went out to dinner last night, but the night before, Amelia made stuffed poblano peppers, and she used impossible meat instead of ground hamburger or turkey like her recipe called for, and it was great. Super seasoned meat. I love poblano peppers. They were cooked perfectly. It was just cooked through beautifully, and you eat a little bit, you cut into it, and you eat the pepper with the meat. So we had that the other night. I love that. She makes like a shrimp rice bowl for us quite often that I really like. She makes, it's just a number of, like, it's pretty normal stuff, honestly. But it's more like grains and stuff now, like more rice and no meat. With their meat replacements, soy stuff, I'll eat that, and I like a lot of it and stuff. But spaghetti is another thing that we'll do. Well, like a couple nights ago, we just had really simple spaghetti because it's one of my favorite things in the world. Just like really well cooked al dente spaghetti size noodles with just not a huge drowning of marinara, but just like a scoop of marinara, and you mix the marinara well. And to me, there's almost nothing better than that. Put a little pepper, put a little Parmesan cheese on top, and that's golden to me. And we had that for dinner, with a side salad. Did you vote today? No. I don't bother as a Californian voting in the primaries and shit. If there was like a big giant movement in California to vote uncommitted, I would do it. But in California, that's not on the ballot. California specifically doesn't allow uncommitted or no confidence votes, and so I'm not voting. Like, I'm not even going to partake in the process if it's just going to get my ballot thrown away. If I were to write in no confidence on my ballot, it wouldn't even be counted. They would just throw it away. Is Amelia Italian? That's why she's such a good cook. I don't know if I believe in the myth that your genealogy affects how well you can cook. Amelia's a good cook. I'll tell you why. Because she's diligent as fuck. No, she is. Her salads, you guys have not had a salad. Amelia will put a salad in front of you, right? And a lot of people, it's like, oh, cut up a tomato, put a little onion, put a little lettuce, give you some dressing on the side. When you get an Amelia salad, it is a meticulously chopped. It's got cucumber, it's got tomato, it's got onion, it's got
Mushroom.
mushroom, it's got just like and so finely chopped and evenly distributed throughout the salad. It's like there she makes salads like a joy to eat instead of it just like, oh, let me get my greens in real quick. Let me just use this as a vehicle for ranch. Like her salads are like flavorful and every bite has a little bit of everything. It's very meticulous. And that's how she cooks.
To my
She-
detriment sometimes.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it makes you like worry over the food a little more than maybe you need to.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could really trust your instincts a little more and
Yeah,
fudge
like
things
I
if
kind
you
of
need to.
rigidly follow some recipes.
But there's something to be said for just how diligently you cook. I've watched you. Like I'll watch. I don't want to like just hang over you while you do it, but I like walking through when you're doing it because she's so focused and she just every little thing has to be perfect. She creates little dishes. So if something has to have like a bunch of chopped things in it, Amelia will chop the thing and set it in little components. And then add them like a cooking show almost. It's fucking great. I keep telling her she needs to start a TikTok. Cooking with Amelia. Amelia can cook. But yeah, no, she's really good.
Well, thank you, baby.
Yeah. Can you name a few more things that we've eaten recently, like entree wise?
We made the enchiladas.
Yeah, we had enchiladas that were made with mushrooms instead of
No, it was spinach and white beans.
spinach and white bean cheese enchiladas, and those were fire. So good.
And then we did
Yeah, we put dressing on our salads. What are you, a barbarian?
that vegetarian shepherd's pie was all right, but it wasn't shepherd's pie.
No, it was a casserole.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah. I made that tuna casserole.
I loved that. See, that's a thing. Tuna has a little fishy flavor, but I like it. It's the least fishy of the fish for me. And we had a good old fashioned just like noodle and cheese and tuna casserole, which is like an American family staple dinner night. And I loved it. It was great. Had a scoop of that, had a salad on the side or something.
We had stuffed peppers.
Yeah, I told them about the stuffed peppers. That's the one that I remembered recently.
I'm trying to think what else.
You make burgers.
Yeah. We made a mushroom stroganoff. That was
Mushroom stroganoff without no beef, just mushroom instead of the beef, which was really good.
And that was one that I had to like make some executive decisions about.
Yeah. What was that one that ended up just having too much mushroom?
That was the stroganoff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was like they wanted a pound of mushrooms, and I got halfway through. It's like there's no way.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, very, very normal kind of foods. I was just kind of explaining to them like how I've been trying to like not. Somebody asked how's the diet going, and I was like, I'm not really on a diet. I'm not thinking of it that way.
We did that tofu. You liked how I did the baked fried tofu.
Yeah, that's silky
Baking it
tofu.
and then sautéing it with the sauce, so the sauce caramelizes on it a little bit.
Yeah, that was really good. I usually in the past have had tofu and not liked it, but I don't think I've had it cooked correctly. Because the way that you did it.
Well, you've probably had like silken tofu, which is like where it's not fried or.
Yeah, maybe.
So that's like the soft.
Well, I've had like stir fry tofu where it just felt like it was just big cubes of tofu that were thrown in and it didn't really soak up the sauce.
Well, yeah, this one was marinated and then baked. Or it was baked and then marinated, and then after it marinated,
It made
fried
a
it up.
freaking huge difference. So I loved that. That was really good.
I also cut them up in itty bitty cubes.
Yeah, it was easier because they were smaller, which is another good thing. Yeah. But yeah, I was just explaining to them like how I came to to talk to you, and you're the first person I ever talked to about the whole textural thing, because I just thought it was normal like the tough it out mentality of just like suck it up and eat that chicken, even though you're fucking disgusted by it, you bastard. Because everybody likes chicken, you know. Very strange.
Yeah, it was just we got to a point where like you would like it, but only if it was overcooked to fuck.
Yeah.
'Cause, like you're supposed to cook chicken to 165. I tested it the way you liked it, and it was 180 something.
Yep.
Which is hard to do for like anything that has chicken incorporated in it,
Right.
rather than just a breast by itself.
I just needed to not eat that type of food.
Yeah.
But I spent my whole life, and I was explaining to them, one of the things I've thought about is that in trying to force myself to eat this type of food that was ubiquitous in the culture, I sought out the most processed versions of it. The versions that made it just completely a different thing. It was like a nugget is not chicken. I mean, it is, but it's like a protein snack made from chicken. It's not a chicken nugget, really.
Yeah, tendies are more like
But even
chicken.
them, breaded and deep fried to fuck.
Yeah.
That's how I could eat it,
Yeah.
and not have textural issues with it. Sometimes, Raising Cane's, their tenders are too thick and floppy, and I have textural issues with them. So fuck them.
And I think the biggest thing is you stopped having anxiety around eating because you let yourself.
Just through talking to you about it. Because, it's another thing I just didn't think of. Or I didn't think was abnormal. I just incorporated it. I have issues with ground beef texture-wise. See, I have the other way. Ground beef is like processed beef, you know? And that is the only way I could really enjoy it. That made into a patty or crumbled up onto something. Or a really high-end steak. Like a super high-end filet. Because that is just pure intramuscular fat, ribboned meat. And it's very
It's butchered
uniform.
carefully,
It's uniform.
Yeah.
So you're not getting a bite with gristle or a big
Yeah.
chewy piece of fat or anything. You're getting a uniform, beautiful cut that I can eat. But if you put a porterhouse in front of me, I wouldn't be able to eat it because those are just ribboned. You have to throw away so much of it still on the bone. You know, there's so much sinew and fat to carve through, and you get a little bit of it in a bite anyway. And people just power through that type of shit, and I can't.
You like the medallion kind of cut.
Yeah. Well, I like that center
Yeah.
super prime cut.
Yeah.
Because it's the ribeye, but it's like the tenderest part of the ribeye. Cut away the rest. How do you have your steak? Medium rare. I don't like it bloody. I don't like it like blue, as they call it. But medium rare is usually how I get it. Some places I will say medium, just because oftentimes I find that if people fuck up medium rare, it's a little on the rarer side.
Yeah, rather than.
And when it gets bloody as fuck, I can't.
I mean, I think they try to do that because it cooks a little bit more when they serve it to you, so they don't want to serve it like perfectly at medium rare because it cooks a little bit as it rests.
Oh damn! Demon Mama apology video to Paul.
Yeah,
What?
I pulled that as maybe a potential goal tonight.
I didn't see it. She apologized to me?
She posted it like not even an hour ago.
Oh, cool. I don't think she owes me an apology for anything.
I mean, it's like a half-hour thing, so I don't think you can get through the whole thing. But like she
I'll
said,
watch it on my own. I'm interested to see what she feels like she owes me an apology for. Like, I don't mean to be gay about it, but like getting to know her and working with her has just been delightful for me. So I think maybe if I had to think,
like an argument that she made.
maybe it's like before we knew each other.
Yeah.
Because when she covered our argument with Vosh, she was making fun of me pretty hard. I didn't take offense to it. I even told her so. But she was she pulled a whole soundboard of me laughing hella hard when Vosh told me to manage my finances better, etc. And she made a bit out of that and was comparing it to some other laugh because I really went over the top of the laugh. I went, ha, ha, ha! And she loved that. You know, I didn't take it I've got I got a thicker skin than that, so I don't think she owes me an apology. But it's interesting.
So yeah, if you want to sit down and watch the whole thing, if it ends up being a goal, it might not end up being a goal. You
Sure.
know how it is. Everything we pull doesn't fucking be a thing.
Sure. That's interesting though. I'll have to tell her, the next time we interact that like apology accepted but not required. I really don't think that she's ever done me wrong. It's like I was pretty fucking uncharitable to her before we met too. I was calling her all kinds of names and libs and cucks and this and that, and then, we got in the room together and we actually have a good rapport. So if she owes me an apology, I owe her one, I guess, too. If that's what she's apologizing, I don't know. I'll have to see. No, Demon Mama is super cool in my book. There are certain people that I've worked with as guests through my shows, the shows that I've been on, that I really fucking knocked it out of the park with, rapport wise. One of them was Casey Tron. I loved Casey Tron. Another one's Kyle. Me and Kyle always had a great, like, straight man, wild man aesthetic. I remember him, like, gagging when I was telling my cyst story. He was just bowled over by the grossness, but he loved it. So Kyle's another one. I felt a really good rapport, although maybe not as strong with Dylan. Dylan Burns held his own really well as a guest. I'm trying to think of other standout people. I hate to fucking say it. You know what? Whatever. Pull this out of context. J.F. Garapi back in the day. Before he was a white nationalist weirdo and back when he was just an eccentric French-Canadian scientist.
Yeah.
So much fun.
You invited him on because you wanted to have science-y talk.
But with a weirdo.
Yeah. You wanted him to explain it in a weird way and all that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, after he went.
Yeah, I mean, I disavowed as soon as he became a Nazi. You know what I mean? I did it very publicly too.
Yeah.
But he was good. And there are also some people in my mind that are memorably kind of bad in terms of chemistry with me and just as guests in general.
Yeah.
But Demon Mom is definitely on the high positive end of that spectrum. I feel like we hit it off immediately in a way that I didn't think we would just from watching her videos. Like I feel like we're kind of kindred spirits a little bit. Fellow travelers, if you will.
I think the humor thing is a big thing. They gotta be okay with the childish humor.
Yes. That is why, and this is not to shit on him, Vosh is one of the worst guests we've ever had, in my opinion. We talked past each other a lot, and he was not engaging in a humorous level with anything. Like, he rolled with the punches a little bit.
Well, he likes doing edgy humor, but it's not the same as childish humor.
Right. Yeah, edgy and childish can blend, but they're not necessarily from the same thing. Yeah, I get it.
Childish humor is like farts and gross out shit and stuff like that.
He was just a shitty guest.
Yeah.
He was, not, and it wasn't just him, it was us too. He didn't fit the vibe.
Yeah. A bad guest on your show doesn't mean a bad
person
performer or whatever. It just means, they don't pass the vibe check.
Yeah, the vibes were just bad from the jump when he was on the show, and they got worse as time went on, and there was a lot of just scrambling, people trying to yell over each other. Scotty was just disengaged from the whole fucking thing, and I don't blame him. It was just, Scotty is not a dude that wants to sit around fruitlessly arguing for hours.
Yeah.
He wants to blow up and argue and then be done.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the type of guy that'll sit there and have like a low-key argument for 6 hours.
And it's not like he couldn't have jumped in, he just didn't want to, I don't
blame him.
Yeah.
It's a lot of voices. Yeah. There's 3 sharks in the water vying for mic time. And I don't blame Scotty for just kicking back and getting a quip in when he could. Mm-hmm. I would probably have done the same, in his shoes. I think it's a smart thing that he did. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's a character flaw of his, but it's just like, Vosh didn't pass that vibe check.
Yeah.
Scotty is way more talkative with Demon Mama, even if he does move out of the way a little bit. Because
you were like full manic when you had her on, so I don't think.
Okay, yes, I was having a bit of a mania. It's true. Harsh call out, but true. But that even so, I was not manic the first time she came on, and
Yeah.
we vibed super hard. The
On the
first time
second
as well.
time, you were, you had just gotten
I
the,
was at my
you
fucking.
had the oxygen high.
Oh my god, I was at my theater kid best
Yeah,
because that part of me has been like locked away behind
yeah,
the fuzz
yeah.
for years, and I suddenly had access to it again, and I was like, "Blah, Jacques Le French, da 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 da." I just went a little fucking destroyed. I know, cut to the bone.
I wasn't trying to be mean
No,
about
you
us.
weren't. You weren't. I'm just joking. It's true. It's a healthy thing to talk about with people so they understand
Yeah.
a lot. But the way that people perceived it was Paul's back.
Hmm.
I learned years ago how to channel mania into performance.
Hmm.
I tap into it for performance, and that mania was not. I wasn't capable of it. You
Yeah.
remember how I was? Half asleep all day,
Yeah.
barely able to engage. Super, like my mental illness was off the charts worse.
Hmm.
Just every aspect of it worse, in my opinion.
You were just locked into the anxiety and the depression and.
Withdrawn,
Hmm.
socially incapable to a certain
Yeah, I
extent.
mean, like, it's been an adjustment to how much more social you've been lately.
I know. For you, it must be like a fucking, we haven't even really talked. Maybe we should off stream
Yeah.
discuss it. But, I understand. It's a 180. I'm closer to kind of where I was when we got together.
Hmm.
And COVID really did a number on me.
Hmm.
Getting it and just
Well,
the
before
cultural.
that too, like it fed your every worst impulse of closing yourself away.
What do you mean?
Like with the lockdown, like you had this carte blanche
Yes.
thing to like close yourself off.
I've
From
always
everyone.
struggled against the impulse to hermitize myself, and the lockdown gave me carte blanche to do it. And once I did it, I found it super hard to come out of it
Mhm.
because I think I have a natural proclivity to that. Like, I'll give you guys an example. You know those dudes that kind of decide fuck society and move up to some mountain town and
Mhm.
buy a piece of land and just kind of live on it?
Mhm.
I think that if I had just kind of given myself to my natural proclivity, that's where I'd be right now.
Yeah.
And I think I'd be okay.
Mhm.
I don't think I'd be unhappy. I'd be lonely because I do like people. But it's a strange dichotomy. I love people, but I'm avoidant of people. you know, it's hard to explain. And I've been trying to open myself back up. A lot of it was just, you've seen what I've been doing, hanging out in Discord and gaming with people.
Mhm.
That's something I miss.
Mhm.
And all of my friends that I used to do that with have moved on.
Mm.
They live in different places, don't play games anymore. And I still kind of do. And so having a group of people that I can just shoot the shit with while I'm playing a game with them is like,
And we're going out more. We're having like dates.
yeah, we're
and-
going on date nights and we're getting out of the house more. And I'm,
Because like
Or-
before, like I think we had like 3 or 4 movies where you just had to like I can't go.
yeah. Well, there was a whole vacation.
Yeah.
You remember that? I don't think I've ever told you guys about this. We had planned a whole getaway weekend for us because I was stressed out and so was Amelia. We were just, after COVID, we were cooked. And so we planned like, hey, let's get away. And the day came and I woke up and I went outside and I smoked a cigarette and I was going to force myself to fucking go through with it. But everything in my fucking being was saying, you can't do this today. And it's a credit to Amelia that you're the first person I've ever been with that I could be honest with about something like that.
Yeah, like I wasn't mad that you couldn't do it.
You were disappointed.
A little, but
Yeah,
I mean,
but
like,
that's the thing. That's what makes you special to me, is because I was honest with you about how I was feeling, and it was not a joke, and I was not just being lazy.
Mhm.
I was fucked that day,
Mhm.
mentally fucked. Woke up in a panic attack.
Mhm.
woke up feeling like I hadn't slept in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Garbagey, coughing, and just sick. And you're the first person I've ever been with that I would feel comfortable saying that, because I swear to God, not to shit talk my exes, every one of them, it would have been a fucking blowout.
Like, oh, you're just being this, and
because it meant that we ate that money, right? It was after the
they charged us for one night, not the whole thing.
But still,
just night. Yeah,
it sucked. It was $70 or something that just I may as well have just thrown in the toilet.
But I think I've learned through the years that it's not good to get caught up in the sunk cost fallacy. Sometimes you spend money on something and you don't follow through, and it doesn't mean you have to.
Yes.
It's not worth spending more money to follow through.
Agreed.
Because, like, yeah, we missed out on that one night, but we probably would have also spent double that on food and gas and all that other shit.
Yeah.
So don't get caught in the sunk cost fallacy. That's my advice for everyone.
Well, that's good advice. Man, fuck. Well, I guess I've been doing this a long time anyway. I'll chill for a little bit, but I can't with the fucking...
Yeah, but that's my wisdom I impart on all
that
of
is
you today.
That's some deep-ass wisdom. When it comes to, like, being supportive, Amelia's a champ for me, and I do my ever-loving best to mirror that to her. As funny as you are salty, you're better healthy. I'm glad for you, Paul. Well, I'm still salty as fuck. That aspect of me was exacerbated by feeling like absolute physical and mental shit every day. And you may see less of it, but that's a part of my personality. It is just magnified.
Yeah, like, you still have salty moments, but it's not fueled by this deep depression.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Well, I took it that way. I'm just saying. Thank you. It was very kind of you. I have trouble accepting compliments and well wishes and stuff, and I'm trying to be better about that too. I usually just ignore them or hand wave them. And that's a depressive thing. You don't feel like you deserve praise or congratulations or anything, and so you hand wave it. I'm the same. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Cool. You understand that. I do appreciate it, though. I'm trying. Being trans and all. Oh, well, yeah, then you do know. I feel as though I was an apprentice to this salt lord myself. Jason, you were never my apprentice. You know what the truth is about you, Jason? We were just fucking fated to be together, you and I. At that point in time in my life, I needed a you. And I think maybe you needed a me. I needed somebody youthful that had that old kind of joie de vivre about them and that kind of devil-may-care young guy kind of energy, because I was feeling like an old fucking stuck curmudgeon.
Yeah, like, you were so stuck in the white picket fence that you needed someone.
I had been assimilated, bro, into the American cultural lie of the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the career. And I desperately needed somebody who was not in that, with a younger frame of mind. And here you come, you know, and you're funny and you're interesting and you're smart as a fucking whip, right? And you keep me on my toes. And I think that in a certain way, maybe you needed a more, like, an older guy, you know, that had been through what you were kind of on the cusp of. But it wasn't a mentorship. It was a friendship. It was cool. We blended well in that way. We needed each other, or somebody like each other at that point in our lives. That's how I've always looked at it.
We've graduated to a rotten wood fence.
Yeah, rotten. Rotten wood. The best kind of fence.
Is this gonna blow over one of these days?
I'm waiting for it. This one will stand because it's new.
Yeah.
But it won't, not for long, because they didn't fucking seal it, so you can see it's already rotting.
Yeah.
Especially where it's connected to this.
Yeah.
It's whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna end this because I don't want to hear this anymore. But thanks for watching. Thanks for being. I'll see you tonight on the show. Be there or be square.